Okay, let me go to Buck Sexton because we have some breaking news now out of Boston. Two more suspects, or is it three, Buck, have been arrested now in the Boston bombing.
It's three right now, Glenn. Three more have been detained in connection to the Boston Marathon bombing. They're not giving much more in the way of details right now. We just know there have been three arrests.
So we don't know if they're, to quote John King, we don't know if they are dark-skinned men at all. We have no idea.
We know nothing other than three, and quite honestly, it doesn't necessarily even mean that they're three males. We know nothing about them other than three additional suspects right now have been taken into custody. We know that a couple of days ago, the FBI said there were 12 under investigation. They released that publicly. For them to go from being under investigation to arrests means they at least found what they think is derogatory on a few individuals here. This thing is about to get blown open pretty wide, I think, if we're going to learn a lot more.
Do you have, I'm not talking specifically about this particular case, these particular arrests, but do you have any gut sense at all, or have you heard from any of your sources about the mosque and any other connections to Saudi Arabia besides the ones that we have brought to the table? Is anybody even looking into the mosque?
I've actually been talking to sources of mine the past couple of days about Saudi connections these days, and quite honestly, when we say Saudi, I think it's important to throw in there that we're really referring to Arabian Peninsula financiers and financial connections to terrorism, because the UAE, Qatar, there's a number of countries where individuals...
No, whoa, not Qatar, because in Qatar, we know that they're bringing us the truth through Al Jazeera, so please,
right.
Don't besmirch our good friends.
To make sure we understand that I think Saudi is a useful shorthand for a much broader web of terrorist financing of these kinds of mosques. And look, Glenn, there's something else that I don't speak about very often because it's very hot button. But let's just say that in a fair number of mosques, even in this country, and I'm not surmising this, I know this to be the case, there are pretty anti-Americanism is not necessarily considered in any way problematic. Now, anti-Americanism is protected by the First Amendment. I'm not saying it's not. But when you're trying to gauge the radicalism, say, of this Cambridge mosque, well, what are we measuring it up against, I guess? It's not a Unitarian congregation, Glenn. That much I can promise you.
I don't even know what kind of racist talk you're engaging in right now, Buck Sexton. So, Buck, what should we be looking for here? Is there anything that, from your years in intelligence, is there anything that when they come out and they... First of all, they're in custody, so we haven't arrested them. They're just in custody.
Right. Well, Glenn, I don't want to break my chain of predictions that have somehow come out to be true, and I'm not the only one at The Blaze who has made a few of these. And, I think it's a homegrown Islamic extremist with foreign links and possibly training. That was, I think, day 2 after the attack. So I'm happy with the analytic record we put together at The Blaze, but I will go out here a little further and say this. It seems very likely, based upon just the nature of the case right now, the number of people that the FBI and the other agencies are looking at, that there was at least foreknowledge of this attack and possible facilitation. And that's different than guys who are actively engaged in the plot, too. They would be what's called part of the cluster, not part of the cell. The cluster is sort of the more loosely affiliated individuals around the operational cell. At this point, Tamerlan and Jokar are a two-man cell, but we're looking to see who's around them in that cluster formation. Also, the two people that the Russian authorities said that at least Tamerlan was in contact with in 2012, they both are jihadists. Both were killed by the Russian FSB in pursuit of their terrorist activities.
Racist.
I don't think it's a far cry to suggest, Glenn, that we're probably going to see a photo or at least get confirmation in some capacity of Tamerlan abroad with an AK-47 looking like he's about to get his jihad on.
Okay, so let me correct me where I'm wrong here. The way I am looking at this and the way I understand this, what I think happened is these guys go to this mosque in Boston, which is funded by the Saudis. It's a Muslim Brotherhood mosque. It is not a, they're not defending Martin Luther King and the 4th of July, as the press has reported. They may do that publicly, but that's not who they are. And these guys go in, and as soon as they get kicked out because they stand up and say, what are you talking about Martin Luther King for? These guys are escorted out for a couple of days, and possibly this Saudi that we believe is involved, or someone like him, follows them out and kind of does a little poking and prodding and see if they're really the real deal. And so then they, not necessarily connected to the mosque, these guys say, okay, you know what? How can we help you? Because I think you're making an awful lot of sense. How can we help you? And so the team, and this is why we've been asking for the videotape from the days prior to the bombing. Was there anybody that maybe might be on a terror watch list that happened to scope things out? Is there anybody that had a 2123B that maybe was there, that was looking in advance, that just helped provide the training, the money, and anything like that? Is there a possibility? Do I have that wrong?
No, Glenn, you're actually referring to a pretty common precedent in terms of how these, like I said, at least the cluster forms. It's oftentimes some guy in the back of the mosque who's saying, death to America, death to Israel. He gets ushered out, or people say, hey, man, don't say that. But then a few others will find him afterwards and say, you know what, I kind of like what you're putting down there, buddy. And they start talking more. They start getting more engaged in sort of online jihadist activity, uploading videos, communicating, trying to reach out to extremist imams. Apparently, extremist imams love getting an email saying, "Hey, tell me more about jihad." They respond, even though you'd think that wouldn't be a good idea from a security perspective. However, you also see the size of these things a lot of the times. I mean, I can just read off the top of my head, Glenn, terrorist plots in the U.S. There's in North America, I should say. There's the Buffalo 6. There's the Raleigh 7. There's the Toronto 18 or 16. I can't remember. It's a lot. But 18 actually, and there's all these large clusters that get involved in some kind of a plot, and they tend to meet each other in the mosque and they formulate their plan. Only a few go operational, but oftentimes more than a few know about it, and that's what the FBI is looking for.
All right, thank you very much, Buck. We'll talk again, and we'll probably have an update maybe in the Pat and Stu show, and definitely at 5 o'clock today, and you can find out all the information in The Blaze. We'll make sure we have it accurate and in front of you as soon as we can verify that things are accurate. Thanks so much, Buck. Appreciate it.